My name's Sally Thomas and I am the parent of Alex Thomas, who's 21, and he's been attending conductive education right since it was established in Christchurch.
Can you tell us how you first found out about conductive education?
It's quite interesting because I think it was 1987, because I know at the time Alex hadn't been diagnosed with cerebral palsy, but we saw a documentary on television called Standing Up for Joe, and it was about a family from the UK who went with their son who had cerebral palsy over to Hungary. And I watched with great interest that program, not realising at that time that one of our sons had cerebral palsy. And quite soon after that, a lot of families from New Zealand started going over to Hungary, and as a result of that, a paediatrician and some people from the Child Potential Unit in Rotorua went over to Hungary, and they set up a group called PACE, which was Positive Action for Conductive Education, and involved in that were a number of parents whose families had been over to Hungary, and they actually came around, they moved around New Zealand and basically talked to families about what their experience was, and we were really interested in it from that point. And as a group, we decided to fundraise, and we actually brought a conductor out from Hungary. He came out for 4 months, and he spent a month in several different places throughout New Zealand, and he came to Christchurch, and that was our first experience of conductive education. Alex was about 3.5, and at that stage he was sitting, but he wasn't able to crawl or roll or anything like that. At the end of that 4 weeks, he was standing with one stick, and we were just totally blown away. We couldn't believe it. And from that point on, parents who had similar experience with their child as what Greg and I did decided that we just had to get conductive education out to Christchurch, and we started then fundraising and working towards bringing our first conductor out here, Anna Maria.
What were your first impressions? First time you saw conductive education in action?
You know, when I first heard about it, I remember thinking that Andres Peto, who actually developed conductive education, must have been a genius, but when I saw it in action, it just seemed so logical to me that having one person trained across all areas to work with people just seemed to be the best way to do it, because I think what happens often is with traditional therapy you have a number of people working with your child who often don't have the opportunities to meet and talk to each other about what they're doing, and yet, for example, for speech language therapy it's really important that an OT is having input. So, you know, I just sort of thought, well, this seems to be the logical way of doing things. We spent a lot of time organising appointments and seeing all these various different people, and here we were with a situation where we'd go to one place and that one expert could cover all of Alex's needs. It was, yeah. I remember when he was much younger and we had people coming in all the time, he'd just scream, you know, because there were all these people coming in and out of our lives all the time. And he got to know the conductors really well, and they got to know him really well as a person. It was more than just knowing what his needs were, but about his personality and his emotions and all of that sort of thing was all catered for by the conductor.
And what do you feel that now that conductive education has done for your child?
I think Alex has become very independent, and I don't believe that he would have been as independent had we not done conductive education. I think it taught us a lot about what Alex was capable of. I think often as parents we're inclined to wrap people with disabilities up in cotton wool and sort of do for them rather than encourage them to do for themselves. So it was quite a different mindset. And I think the things that Alex was taught to do are things that have helped him, but they've also helped us, because a lot of self-help skills and things like that. I mean, we're just amazed at what Alex is able to do now, and he's certainly far surpassed what we imagined was going to be possible as far as his independence goes.
So what's conductive education done for your family?
Oh, it changed our lives. Changed our lives. I remember little things like when Alex was first walking, it used to take him 20 minutes to walk to the car if we were going out somewhere, and we'd end up, initially before we had conductive education, carrying him or helping him. When he learnt to do things for himself was just, the conductors talked to us about programming our lives so that we just told Alex 20 minutes before everyone else that we were going out somewhere, so that he did have the opportunity to actually be independent and do things for himself. And I think as far as his self-esteem goes, it's been huge, because he's realised that he can do things, and he's had time and opportunity to sort of practice what he's doing. It's not therapy, it's actually learning things that you can use throughout your daily life. I think, I imagine that there'll be a lot of families who are looking at this DVD who've got a child diagnosed with a disability and will be looking at options for that child. I would just encourage families to go and look at their local centre, to talk to families, and honestly, I don't think that you'll regret making a decision to come to conductive education. And I think there are many families who will support the view that I've got about it.